Now, we're joined now by Peter Bruce from Northtec, who has been heavily interested in organics and, of course, a sustainable farming system moving into the future. And he joins us now. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, Sarah.
Now, I was just actually looking there before, and I can see you're a bit of a muso.
I try. I've been playing for many, many years. I guess I don't practice hard enough, though. But it's always good to pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been amazing, actually, zooming into people's homes, especially around lockdown. You feel an utter privilege to get to know the people differently. So it's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to getting to know a little bit more, firstly, about your background, Peter, and what led you to hosting Peter Barrett, Central Otago regenerative farmer and consultant John O'Frew last week.
Well, I work at Northtec. I teach business there, and because I'm teaching on the degree, part of that is part of the duties there is about doing research. I really enjoy that research. Now, I've had a long-standing interest in organics. I remember back many years ago visiting John Pearce's farm in South Kaipara, and he was showing me how he was building topsoil way back then. This is probably back in the 80s, I'd say. So then I've had an interest in what I call sustainable food systems, and I now call those regenerative food systems. And also, because I'm a father and a grandfather, I'm also very interested in climate change. And what I've learned is that the way we use land is probably the most potent tool we've got to mitigate climate change, and pasture has got a big place to play in that.
Okay, Peter, I want to be the devil's advocate here and ask you what your thoughts are on the comment that New Zealand is already regenerative.
I don't agree with that. I think if you look at our increase in the use of urea over the last 10, 20 years, it's still going up significantly. And I know the regenerative farmers that I've been talking to, they reduce their input significantly, and we don't need to be using that stuff.
Okay, so you hosted these two gentlemen last week across 4 events that were at capacity. What was the makeup of the people in the room? Were they all sort of, let's be sort of frank, Northland hippie lifestylers, or was it a real mix?
Yeah, it depends where you go, because like the first one was at Waimamaku, which is north of the Waipua Forest, south of the Hokianga Harbour. So that's a very small community. There's Māori farmers there. There's lifestylers. But they had quite a really good turnout there. The next one, the following day, was Keri, and there was quite a few people from horticulture there, as you'd understand. And some farmers. And then down to Dargaville, down to Whangarei, there was a mix, really. Farmers, horticulturalists, and then, the lifestylers. Yeah, so quite a mix.
And so what were some of those key messages that you particularly took away from Peter and Jono's speech?
Well, I think anyone that's seen his farm on Country Calendar has to be impressed by the growth he got and the diversity. I think diversity is the key you come away with, and the way that diversity can put a real positive, get a really positive cycle going on the farm.
In all your years of following the organic movement and, of course, your interest in regenerative farming systems, Peter, what have you seen in terms of a shift of support in recent years?
Well, I would say that 2020 has been a bit of a watershed year, actually. And I think the discourse is changing, which is really good. I mean, last year, what I was picking up is that the message was cows are bad and we all need to be vegans. That's what was sort of coming through, and so that rural urban divide was becoming I guess more evident. But if you look what's happened in 2020, the launch of Calm the Farm, You've got that conference in Christchurch, Walter Yenna's tour here, the Greenpeace petition, and that's particularly interesting, because Greenpeace, they've been criticised, but what Greenpeace will often do is they'll take a stand against something. In this case, they're taking a stand for farming, which is a real turnaround. And I think that they will shift, the urban discourse around this quite significantly. And so I think this is a year that we're not going to move back from. In the first half of this year, we've seen pretty amazing things happening. I should mention too, Pure Advantages feature, which brought a whole lot of really good and diverse sort of
philanthropy.
Good stuff together.
So now, Peter, I want to, of course, there'll be audience members here who want to know, of course, you a principal academic from a polytech in Northland. What is your motivation here behind pushing a cause like regenerative agriculture and your knowledge and background that you bring to this?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, because it's the gift that keeps giving. I think from the farmer's point of view, what I've seen is that the animal health inputs go way down, animal health improves, external inputs on the farm go down, and where it works, it's really good to see that the farmers are getting premiums, for example. Now, what I'm motivated for too is like changes in these food systems, because I think the industrial food systems that sort of emerged after World War II have let us down badly. They're not, like farming productivity has gone up like this, but profitability sort of stays pretty stagnant. And I'd like to see farmers being able to access, like, for example, we've got farmers north of Whangarei who are producing organic milk, but Fonterra don't do a separate collection there. And so their milk just goes in the vat with everybody else's. There are markets there for meat. I think a regenerative brand could be really strong. So there's those reasons, but the other reason that I care about a lot is farming's potential to fix climate change. Because if you look at a business like a manufacturing business, say like EcoStore, for example, they'll work very, very hard to get down to what's sustainable. But farmers can go way beyond that and actually generate a whole lot of good beyond sustainability. So, the farming community can be the hero here. And of course, COVID has meant that we can't rely that much on tourism for a while.
And of course, doing us...
Economic. Yeah, look, the other thing I'd like to add is I'd really like to see the return of the, not the return, but the preservation and the expansion of the family farm. Because, I come from a small rural community. I'm originally from Te Kaupuru on the west coast. And when you went out onto rural roads, there'd be farms that are owned by farming families all the way along that road. And now they've been aggregated into bigger and bigger land holdings. So, it's not good for our rural communities to see that development.
And you'll certainly be noticing that in the Northland region in particular. But Peter, I just want to close. Of course, it's a burning question that you're from Northtec, one of the regional polytechs around New Zealand, and this big mega polytech that this coalition government have introduced. Do you fear for your job and your students and what the outcome of centralisation looks like for you?
Yeah, well, it's a bit hard to know, somebody once said, if you get a small dummy and small dummy equals big dummy, So one of the things that I get frustrated about as a sort of veteran educator is that we have just so much educational bureaucracy. And, and it could get a whole lot worse with a bigger organisation. But on the other hand, what we have at the moment is we get a whole lot of people recreating similar things all around the country. and we miss out on the economies of scale because really our institutions are, by world standard, pretty small, and staff are stretched to do everything they have to do to maintain relatively small groups. Now, the COVID experience the lockdown experience was interesting for me because we taught from home using Zoom, and it worked pretty well actually. The students enjoyed it. Not all students did, but the majority adapted really well. And I think it's pushed us along a lot further into creating ways of delivery that will help us to have a much better reach around the country.
And now to close, I just want to read out one comment here. Quinton Eagleton has just said, this has absolutely warmed my heart. I just want to share this with you, Peter. During COVID lockdown, I saw a farmer in a different light. Grateful. So there we go. We're making a difference. And to close, for fun, why on earth would you want to travel anywhere else when you have a winterless north? But if you were to go to one Pacific island, which one would you choose?
I guess I'll probably go to the Cooks. Yeah.
Any particular place?
Well, maybe Manaia actually. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great way to end. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And of course, with all your hard work last week, Peter Bruce there from Northtec, and of course, that's ahead of the 4 regenerative seminars with Central Otago regenerative farmer Peter Barrett and Jono Frew last week.
This is Sarah's Country.